the streets of the Philippines, Joe, covered in blood, is running for his life, while 3 thugs are chasing him down. Unable to get any help, he finally runs into a police car. The 3 thugs stop and the policemen try to intervene, when suddenly a black SUV pulls up and a man in black gets out of the car and kills the policeman. He stabs Joe and watches ruthlessly as he calls out for his mom. He then kills him instantly. This guy is Beck, an ex-mercenary who now runs an online gambling organization. In Korea, detectives are hunting down drug peddlers along with their boss, Detective Ma. After getting the key and confirming that the water supply has been shut, they go to the rooftop where the peddlers run their operation from. Before opening the door, they turn off the electricity and barge inside but find a big metal bar door. As Detective Ma tries to get the metal door down, the peddlers try to get rid of the drugs and phones to get rid of evidence. But due to no water supply and electricity, they fail. Ma manages to take the door out and they have a showdown with the drug peddlers. They try to fend off using whatever weapon they can, but Detective Ma's punches are one of a kind. Later at night, Detective Ma asks his team about Joe, a wanted app developer, but he learns about Joe's gruesome death in the Philippines. The next day, he goes to check the autopsy report and is told that before his death, Joe has been subjected to harsh treatment for a long time. Ma realizes that the case might have much deeper implications and is not an ordinary mugging. On their way out, Joe's grieving mother asks Ma about his son's crime and who killed him. She also tells him about how it became hard to reach his son after getting a job with HB Trading Corporation in the Philippines. Next, we see Mr. Jang, an IT genius, discussing business with his potential partners about launching a new crypto coin. Back in the Philippines, Beck gets to know that Mr. Jang has not been keeping his promise of increasing his shares, though he has been getting more members for their online gambling. Suddenly, they get an information about a location of an online gambling site, so Beck and his men goes to raid the place. On the way, his right-hand man, Ji-hoon, informs the team to shut down the system. Then, we see a number of tech geniuses like Joe being held captives and using them to run their business. They work on their computers and shut down all the systems of the rival online gambling site. Beck and his men then attacks them, making the place a slaughterhouse, killing most of them with knives. One of the men comes out with a gun but is stabbed by Beck and shoots him in the mouth. They take all their data drives before leaving. At the station, Ma is informed that the app Joe developed during his college days for sharing papers had an open source code and has been modified by someone else to use it. The company in the Philippines that Joe worked has also been shut down. Ma calls Joe's mother to find out more but gets to know that she took her own life. Ma is determined to bring justice to Joe and his mother. Ma goes to the agency's cyber investigation team and traces Joe's employment history and his backup data and got some pictures of an online gambling casino. But before they could finish downloading, someone hacked into his cloud and erased everything. Determined to finish the job, he tells the cyber team to work on it while he catches the person behind it. He then goes to his captain and requests to get 2 cyber team guys and make a task force, but the captain tells him to not go into digital crime as he is not cut out for it. After the raid, Beck calls Mr. Jang to tell him to give admin approval as the cleanup is done and to increase his share and keep his words this time. Back at their site, the tech guys load the drives they took from the raid and transfer all the members to their online gambling site, thus increasing their members. The captain finally caves in and gets the cyber team to work with Ma and his team. While working on the pictures they got from Joe's cloud, they finally get the name of the casino as the Emperor Casino. But before they could sign up, they need an invitation and an approval. They also need to send in the game money to be accepted, which they don't have any budget allocated. In a restaurant, 2 gang members are arguing over owning a turf. While at it, the captain comes in and tells them to cut the crap but couldn't land a punch on the guard. Ma then fights his way in, knocking out all the guys like a pro boxer as the gang leaders whimper in fear. They both start to complain about the other one butting into their turf. On the pretext of arresting them, Ma asks them to settle amicably and tells them to pay up for making peace between them. Ma and his team then use the money for their online gambling payment. Beck visits Choi and stops him from sending the laundered casino money to Mr. Jang, hidden in Yusong Apparel Freight. Beck calls him and tells him to keep his words and increase his share, but Mr. Jang tells him to send the money first and not to haggle for more as he already gets a hefty cut. Mr. Jang disconnects the call, making Beck decide to go to Korea and pay him a visit. Mr. Jang has his own plans to get Mr. Kwon to run his casino business and get rid of Beck. Meanwhile, Ma catches up with Isu, an old acquaintance who now runs a gaming arcade. Isu tells Ma and his team about an online casino he ran for just 3 days in the Philippines but barely got away with his life after his establishment was raided by the Emperor Casino, which seeks to monopolize the online gambling industry. With the help of Isu, they go to a casino and gambles, deliberately losing the bet. He then complains of getting bored of all the small-time casino gambling. An agent who's been on a look for new members approaches him and tells him about online gambling but also informs that the minimum bet will be $1 million. In a moment of shock, he asks Ma if it is okay through his hidden wire, exposing them. The guy tries to run but is caught outside after a bit of scuffle. He spills the bean out about working under Choi and getting some commission for getting new members. The next day, Baek and Ji-hoon arrive in Korea. At the same time, Ma and his team are also there in an attempt to nab Choi. They tail him to his apparel outlet and two of the guys go in to look for him while the others wait outside. Choi tries to escape after he sees the guys looking for him. After a bit of a chase, he runs directly in their van parked outside and is apprehended. At the villa, Baek meets with Mr. Jang, who reveals he is working on a cryptocurrency scheme under the name of QM Holdings, and is pushing to register it in the exchange. Mr. Jang tells Baek about a reviewer who has been giving some trouble in launching the crypto coin and requests Baek to accompany his finance advisor, Ko, to bribe the exchange reviewer. Mr. Jang promises to increase his shares and also hand over the admin key once the coin approval is done. Back at the station, after interrogating Choi, they get to know that Yusong Apparel Company is the front of funneling the online casino money into Korea by exporting knocked-off clothes from the Philippines. Choi is not willing to spill more for the fear of his life and asks for a lawyer. Ko is trying to bribe the reviewer to approve the crypto coin, but the reviewer threatens to report him. Baek decides to take over and kills Ko and threatens the reviewer into accepting the bribe. Baek calls to inform Mr. Jang that he is dumping Ko's body at one of his sites, but is given the news of Choi being arrested by the police. The next day, Baek sends in a group of food delivery guys in the station and during the chaos, he goes inside and kills Choi. Concerned about Baek's actions, Mr. Jang retrieves Ko's body and dumps it in one of Yusong's apparel shipping containers in order to frame Baek as Ko was the one handling Baek's casino funds. Mr. Jang also orders Mr. Kwon to eliminate Baek. After investigation, Ma comes to know that Ko has been a financial advisor to many big companies and a few days before his murder, he boasted about launching something big. They come to know of Ko handling the finance of a company called QM Holdings, that's launching a crypto coin. Ma and Kim go to the launching event to investigate the possible link between QM Holdings and the Emperor's Casino. Ma presses the 20th floor where the launching is taking place but suddenly the lift door opens, and Baek with Ji-hoon enters the lift. Suspecting something, Baek presses the 19th floor instead and get off there. Ma, being a detective, also suspects something fishy and goes after them with Kim. In the restroom, Kim finds Baek and asks him to show his ID, but instead takes a knife out and starts attacking him. Ma also fights with Ji-hoon and another two guys in the other restroom. While Ma is throwing punches and doing some serious damage to the two guys, Kim is not able to keep up with Baek and calls out to Ma for help. Ma knocks out one of the guys but Baek is about to kill Kim. At that moment the cleaning lady comes in, making Baek take her at knife point to get his men out. He stabs the lady and takes off with Ji-hoon, leaving the other guy as he is unconscious. The guy is arrested and beaten up by Ma to extract information and gets to know about Baek and Ji-hoon. Though they come to a conclusion that QM Holdings president Mr. Jang is the mastermind behind the casino, their hands are tied as they do not have solid evidence. Furious with lack of progress, the police chief disbands Ma's team and decides to transfer the case. Meanwhile, Mr. Kwon and his men are at Baek's apartment to kill him as ordered by Mr. Jang. Having anticipated this, Baek and Ji-hoon are having a ball of a time fighting the guys. With just a knife each, they brutally attack and kill all the men by stabbing and slitting their throat except Mr. Kwon. With a knife on his neck, Baek cooks up a plan with him in exchange for his life and money. Ma, determined to finish the case, begs the police commissioner to let him continue with the investigation. With the approval from the police commissioner, Ma and his team plans to strike the Emperor Casino and seize their main server to prove that Mr. Jang is the mastermind. To put their plan into action, Ma tries to woo Isu to set up a rival online casino site in the Philippines to lure those behind the Emperor Casino into raiding them. Though reluctant in the beginning, he complies after Ma gives him a fake police badge saying he especially got it for him from his seniors as he considers him an expert secret agent. The team gets everything set at the station to monitor and Isu gives his approval. Flaunting his fake police badge, they leave for the airport. Once they reach the Philippines, they get to the empty rented warehouse and finishes setting up. Once done, they start the online bidding and confirms that the systems run properly. In Korea, Mr. Jang arrives at an under-construction site where Baek is supposedly held captive. Mr. Kwon gives him a gun and he goes in to kill Baek but is surprised that he is not tied up. Baek asks him the locker password, but he refuses to tell and shoots him. To his horror, the gun turns out to be empty. Baek stabs him and cut his index finger off to unlock the locker where the admin key is kept and walks off. Mr. Kwon then goes in and kills Mr. Jang as negotiated with Baek before. As anticipated, Beck's team in the Philippines finds out about the new casino site that Ma's team has put up and prepares a shutdown to raid them. Once the shutdown begins, Ma's team get to know that they are coming and prepares to take them down with the help of the Philippines police team. Beck's men arrive and crash into the warehouse but finds it completely empty. Ma's team and the police throw smoke bombs and surround them. Few of them try to run but is subdued and arrested. Once they get the location of the Emperor Casino, the team goes there and raid the place, arresting the bad guys and rescuing those who are forced to work there. After connecting to the main server, the cyber team gets to know that the backup server's address is the QM Holdings, which is owned by Mr. Jang. Ma and the police go to Jang's residence to arrest him. At Jang's residence, Beck unlocks the locker using Mr. Jang's fingerprint and gets the admin key server and walks off, leaving all the cash for Mr. Kwan. While they head to the airport, Mr. Kwan's men are loading up the bags with the cash, but to their bad luck, the police and Ma reaches the place and arrests the thugs. Ma fights his way up, but is disappointed to have missed Beck and rushes to the airport. Since Beck and Ji-hoon are using fake IDs, with the help of forensic data, the airport staffs locate them and give the flight details to Ma. Beck and Ji-hoon board the aircraft and are seated, not realizing that Ma is on his way to get them. As the aircraft door closes, Beck smiles to himself, but that smile does not last too long as Ma enters the cabin and asks the passengers to exit the cabin. Ma taunts Beck for sitting in the first class after killing people and tells him that he promised to bring justice to Joe and his mother. He put on his gloves and tells Beck he will not hold back his strength this time. A fight ensues, 2 versus 1, but Ma brutally assaults them like a pro fighter, throwing deadly punches. At one point, Ma is cornered by both of them, but he fights them off. Ji-hoon hits him with the server box, but one punch from Ma and he goes flying. Ma then knocks him out with a powerful punch in the galley. Beck attacks him with a bottle and grabs a butter knife, but Ma smirks, asking him if he is going to spread jam on him. Beck then cuts the tip off, making it sharp. Having excellent knife skills, Beck attacks him and manages to stab him a couple of times. He then tries to stab Ma's neck, but he fends off with his hand. With the knife pierced through his hand, Ma grabs hold of Beck's hand and punches him hard on his face several times. He then brutally knees his face, leaving him unconscious. With all the thugs arrested in the Philippines and Korea, Ma and the team gives homage to Joe and his mother. Later, we see Isu jumping a red light and being stopped by the police. He shows his police badge, saying he is one of them, but is arrested for flaunting a fake badge. He then calls Ma and gives a piece of his mind for playing him.